Welcome back, deep divers.
Mhm.
Today we're diving deep into performance management PM, you know.
Yeah.
And you sent over this book, this selection from a book on PM. I got to say, it's really got me thinking. You know, like those yearly reviews, nobody likes those, right?
Mm.
Like, whew. But what if there's like a better way to do this whole thing?
You're right on the money with that old way. It's dying out. It's becoming obsolete. The book you sent, yeah, it really digs into, why that is and what we can actually do about it.
Okay, so for those of us who, maybe don't think about PM every single day, can you break it down for us? Like what's changing and why doesn't the old way work anymore?
Well, just think about how much work has changed. I mean, even just in the last, I don't know, couple of years,
Right.
it's all digital, it's remote, it's project based. Everything moves so much faster. And trying to use those old annual reviews, it's like trying to steer a speedboat, but with like a rusty old anchor. The book's the book's point is we need a PM system that's as agile as the work itself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that makes total sense. It's like expecting a horse and buggy to win like a Formula One race, right?
Sure.
So what are the building blocks of a modern PM system? What does this book like? What does it say we absolutely have to have?
Well, first off, transparency, like total transparency. It's got to be there, open communication about, goals, expectations, like how are we actually measuring performance, the whole nine yards. And I think it was an SHRM survey. They found that like 58% of employees, they feel like their companies aren't fair when they do evaluations.
58%. Wow,
Mm.
that's a lot of people who feel like the system's rigged, right? No
Yeah.
wonder so many companies have trouble with getting people engaged.
Exactly, exactly. And that's why fairness, that's another cornerstone. We got to have fairness.
Right.
Unbiased processes.
It's,
You
yeah.
got to apply them consistently so everyone feels like they're being judged fairly, right?
Yeah.
Based on what they do, not on, who they're friends with or office politics, that kind of thing.
Okay. So transparency, fairness, those are huge. Those are huge. What else does this book say is important?
Inclusivity, that's a big one. Got to make sure the PM system, it works for everyone, right?
Yeah.
No matter their background or anything. It can't be one size fits all.
Right. Because everyone's got different strengths.
Yeah.
Different ways of working. Like some people they love that, busy office environment, and other people they need like quiet time, right, to do their best work. So how do we make sure everyone feels included in the PM process?
That's where the book talks about the importance of data, of using data to make decisions. No more gut feelings. No more just, winging it. Burson by Deloitte, I think it was them. They found that when you use data to make PM decisions, it leads to better business outcomes, like 79% of the time.
Okay, so that's hard proof then, right? That using data, it's not just like a trendy thing. It actually works.
Yeah.
But how do we make that happen? Like in real life, what kind of data are we even talking about here?
It's about using things like key performance indicators, KPIs, and performance dashboards. It's about taking the guesswork out of PM and making it objective.
Okay, so like if your company's goal is to make customers happier,
Mhm.
right? You wouldn't just track like how many things you sold. You'd also track, customer feedback or how many customers come back and buy again, right?
Exactly. And this all ties into like the final principle that the book really emphasizes: continuous improvement, right?
Right.
PM, it shouldn't be like a once a year chore. It's got to be ongoing. It's a process: learning, growing, adapting.
So it's about fostering that growth mindset, right?
Yeah.
That we hear so much about. The belief that we can all get better if we put in the effort and if we get the right kind of feedback.
Yeah.
I'm curious, are there any companies out there that are like doing this really well? Like, can you give us some examples?
Oh yeah, tons of examples, but one that always comes to mind is Google. Google, they've put a lot of resources into understanding what makes teams successful, and their research has shown like how important psychological safety is.
Okay, psychological safety, that's a big one.
Hmm.
That's a big one. Can you remind us what that means, like in the context of work?
Yeah.
And how does it play into PM?
Think of it like creating a climate, right, where people feel comfortable taking risks,
Mhm.
speaking up in meetings, sharing ideas, even if they're a little bit crazy, or admitting when they made a mistake,
Huh.
without being scared of being judged or punished.
Makes total sense. If you're always worried about looking dumb or getting in trouble,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be creative, right? But how do you actually build that kind of trust and openness in a team, especially when PM, it often feels like someone's judging you, right?
It starts with leadership. Google found that the most important thing was having a leader who actually modeled that behavior, admitting when they messed up, asking for feedback, and making space for different opinions, even if they didn't agree with them.
So it's that classic walk the walk thing, right? Not just talk the talk.
Exactly. And Google's research, it shows that teams with high psychological safety, they're more likely to hit their goals, and they stick together longer, and they're more innovative.
Those are some pretty compelling results. Okay, so we've established, right? We've established that the old way of doing PM,
Yeah.
it's dying. And we need these new principles to guide us. But how do we actually put this into practice?
Well, that's where choosing the right PM framework comes in. It's like picking the right tool from a toolbox.
Okay, I'm listening. What are some of the frameworks that are out there, and how do I know which one's the right one for my company?
So one of the most well-known ones is the balanced scorecard. It's great for big organizations because it takes a really comprehensive approach, looks at performance from 4 different angles: financials, customers, internal processes, and then learning and growth.
So it's about connecting individual performance to the big picture, right? Making sure everyone's rowing in the same direction.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges though with using this framework?
It can be pretty complex and a bit rigid, which might not be the best fit for companies that need to, move fast and be more adaptable.
Right. It's like trying to do a pirouette, but you're wearing, a full suit of armor.
Yeah.
Not exactly built for agility, right?
Yeah.
So what's a good framework for those fast-paced places?
Objectives and key results. You might have heard of them. OKRs. They're super popular with tech companies and startups because they're clear, they're flexible, and they're very much focused on the outcomes.
Okay, so it's about setting a clear direction and then having very specific ways to measure whether you're actually moving towards it. But
Well,
I'm guessing there are some potential downsides to this approach as well, right?
you're right, because it's so focused on hitting those targets, right? It can sometimes lead to an overemphasis on the short-term goals, and then you might neglect those longer-term strategies that are harder to measure.
It's like that old saying, right? What gets measured gets managed.
Yeah.
If you're only focused on hitting those quarterly numbers, you might miss the forest to the trees, right? Are there other frameworks out there that might help with that?
Yeah, another one that's gaining traction, especially for fast-paced companies, is agile performance management. It's based on the same principles as they use in software development. Frequent feedback, short cycles of work, constant adaptation.
Agile. So it's about being flexible and responsive to change.
Yeah.
Just like in a software development environment.
Exactly. But it's not without its challenges. Agile PM, it can be pretty resource intensive, and it requires, a big shift in mindset for managers and for employees.
It's not something you can just slap on top of an existing system. You got to be really committed, right? So how does this book recommend figuring out which framework is the best one?
Well, you got to understand your company. Specifically, what are your goals? What industry are you in? Even your company culture. It's about, finding the right tool for the job, like you said before.
Okay, so it's not a one size fits all. You wouldn't use a hammer to screw in a light bulb, right? What are some actual companies that are using these frameworks? What are some examples?
Spotify's a really good example. They've embraced Agile PM, and they've had amazing results. They have what they call squads. They're small, self-managing teams. They set their own goals, and they work in short sprints.
Interesting. So they've basically taken the principles of agile software development and applied it to their whole organization.
That's exactly it.
What about a company using a framework like OKRs.
Oh, well, Google's actually a great example of a company that's using OKRs really effectively. They set these ambitious goals, and then they track their progress, using these very specific key results.
And that ties back to what you were saying earlier, right? About the importance of using data.
Yeah.
Google's known for being very data driven in everything they do.
Hmm.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating to see how these different frameworks can work in real life.
It really is. And the book encourages experimentation, like try piloting different approaches and then gather feedback, see what works best for you, for your specific situation.
So don't be afraid to try things out and adjust based on what you learn.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Before we jump into the really practical stuff, the book also talks about something else that's really important. The connection between culture and performance.
Yeah. It's not just about having the right systems, it's about the people and the environment that those systems exist in. It's like that saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast.
I love that quote. So how does it connect those two things, culture and performance management? What are some of the key takeaways?
The book, it argues that company culture, it has a massive impact on how well any PM system is going to work, and it highlights like three key aspects of culture that are particularly important for PM: trust, psychological safety, and a growth mindset.
Okay. Let's break those down. Let's start with trust. I mean, it seems pretty obvious, right? That if employees don't trust the system or their managers, then any PM effort is just gonna fall apart.
Exactly. The book actually cites a Gallup study, and they found that employees who trust their managers, they're 12 times more likely to be engaged at work.
12 times. Wow. That's incredible. So building trust is like the foundation, right, for a healthy PM system. What about the psychological safety thing? We talked about it briefly when we were talking about Google, but how do we make sure that people feel safe to take risks,
Yeah.
and speak up and even admit when they mess up?
It really comes down to creating a climate where people feel heard and respected, even when they disagree or make mistakes. And that means leaders, they need to show that, be open to feedback, admit when they're wrong, and celebrate learning from failures.
Right. So it's not enough to just say the right word. You got to actually show it in how you act.
Right.
Lead by example. What are some other ways that companies can foster psychological safety?
One way is to actively ask for feedback. Not just during those formal performance reviews, but all the time. Like make it clear that you value their opinions, and that you're open to hearing about their experiences, even if they're not all positive.
So create a culture where feedback is like a gift,
Right.
not a weapon like that.
Exactly. And it's important to make it safe for people to experiment and fail. Celebrate what you learn from failures instead of punishing people when they make mistakes.
That's a huge shift for a lot of companies, right?
Yeah.
Where failure is seen as something you have to avoid at all costs. But I can see how embracing failure like as a learning opportunity that could lead to more innovation and creativity, right? Okay, so we've talked about trust. We've talked about psychological safety. What about that third element, a growth mindset?
A growth mindset. That's all about believing that
Yeah.
that our abilities, our intelligence, they're not fixed. That we can develop them through effort, through learning. It's about seeing challenges as opportunities for growth instead of threats.
Right. It's about embracing that I can learn and get better at this attitude rather than getting stuck in the I'm just not good at this kind of thinking. But how does that specifically play out in the context of performance management?
Well, in a growth mindset culture, feedback is a gift.
Right.
It's a chance to learn, to improve. It's not like a judgment about you as a person. It's about focusing on progress, on development. Not about labeling people as good or bad performers.
That's a powerful shift in perspective, and it makes sense because everyone's capable of growing, right? Of developing,
Yeah.
given the right support and opportunities. But how do you actually cultivate a growth mindset within a team or even an entire organization?
The book suggests a few different strategies, but one of the most important is for leaders to show it, to model it themselves, talk openly about their own learning journey, about their mistakes and what they learned from them.
So it's about being vulnerable, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
and showing that you're not afraid to admit when you don't know something or when you've messed up.
Exactly. And celebrate the growth and development of your team members. Even when it involves making mistakes, focus on progress, not perfection.
That's great advice. Okay, so we've talked about the principles of modern PM and the importance of aligning it with your company culture. But let's get a little bit more concrete here. How do we actually design a high impact performance management system? Like where do we start? Let's start with the foundation, goal setting.
Yeah, the book really dives into that. It highlights several key principles of effective goal setting. One of the most important is clarity. Goals need to be crystal clear, no room for ambiguity.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
If people don't understand what they're working towards, how can they be motivated to achieve it?
Exactly. And the book recommends using what they call the who, what, when, where, and why questions to make sure that everyone involved, they all have the same understanding of the goal.
Right. So who's responsible for the goal? What exactly needs to be achieved? When's the deadline? Where will this work take place? And most importantly, why is this goal important?
You got it. You got it. It's about answering all the essential questions up front to avoid confusion and wasted effort, down the line.
So along with clarity, what else do we need to keep in mind when we're setting goals?
Another important principle is that goals should be challenging. They should push employees beyond their comfort zones, encourage them to learn, to grow.
So don't just set easy goals that people can just coast through. Give them something to really strive for.
Exactly. But you gotta strike a balance, right? Goals should be challenging, but they also gotta be achievable. Setting unrealistic goals that can lead to frustration, and people get demotivated.
Makes sense. You want people to feel stretched but not broken.
Precisely. And another a crucial principle is relevance. Goals should align with both individual aspirations and broader organizational objectives.
So it's not just about the company's goals. It's also about helping employees achieve their own career aspirations.
Right.
What are some of the potential downsides of not having that alignment?
Well, when employees don't see how their work contributes to to the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
Or to their own career development, then their motivation suffers and their engagement suffers. A Harvard Business Review study, they found that when employees feel like the work is meaningful, and connected to the company's goals, their performance actually improves by 22%.
22%. Wow. That's a significant boost in performance. And it really highlights the importance of making those connections, right, between individual effort and the overall goals of the organization.
Absolutely. And that's where good goal setting comes in, right?
Yeah.
It's about creating that sense of purpose and alignment that fuels motivation and engagement.
Okay, so we've covered the need for clarity, challenge, and relevance in goal setting.
Yeah.
But how do we actually measure progress towards those goals? How do we make sure that we're actually moving in the right direction?
That's where measurability comes in. Goals, they got to be quantifiable or qualifiable, allowing for objective assessment of progress.
Okay, so we need to be able to track whether we're actually achieving what we set out to do. What are some examples of how to make goals measurable?
Think about using specific metrics and defining what success looks like for each goal. For example, if the goal is to improve customer satisfaction, right? You might track things like customer feedback scores,
Yeah.
or repeat purchase rates.
It's like having like a roadmap. with clear milestones along the way, so you can see exactly how far you've come and how much further you need to go.
Precisely, precisely. And then finally, every goal, it needs to be time bound.
Yes. Deadlines.
Yeah.
Those are essential for creating a sense of urgency, right?
Oh, yeah.
Accountability.
Absolutely. Without a deadline, it's easy for goals to get pushed aside or forgotten about. It's about creating that sense of, we need to get this done by this date, which helps focus efforts and drive progress.
Okay. So we've covered the fundamentals of goal setting. Clarity, challenge, relevance, measurability, and time bound. But I know there are a lot of different frameworks out there for setting goals. Like how do we know which one's the right fit for our organization?
You're right. There are a lot of different frameworks out there, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. The book, it covers some of the most popular ones, starting with the classic SMART goals.
Oh, SMART goals. I've definitely heard of those.
Yeah.
Can you remind us what SMART stands for?
Absolutely. SMART, it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It's a simple framework, but it's effective. It helps to make sure that your goals are well-defined and actionable.
So it's about making sure that your goals are clear, that they're trackable, that they're realistic, that they're aligned with your overall strategy, and that they have a deadline. Sounds pretty comprehensive. But are there any downsides to using SMART goals?
One potential downside is that SMART goals, they can be a bit too rigid, especially in those fast-paced environments or in uncertain environments. If things are constantly changing, you might need a more flexible approach.
So if your industry is known for sudden shifts or disruptions, sticking too rigidly to SMART goals might actually hold you back.
Exactly. And that's where some of the other frameworks can be helpful. The book, it also talks about BHAGs, which stands for big, hairy, audacious goals.
BHAGs. Those sound intense.
They are. BHAGs are very ambitious, long-term goals. They're designed to inspire and motivate. They're about setting your sights really, really high and pushing beyond what you think is possible.
So it's about dreaming big,
Yeah.
right? And then figuring out how to make those dreams a reality. But I can imagine the BHAGs come with their own set of challenges too, right?
You're right. They can be very difficult to achieve, and if they're not managed carefully, they can lead to burnout or a sense of failure if they're not met.
So it's about finding that balance, right, between audacious goals that inspire and realistic targets that people can actually achieve.
Exactly. And it's crucial. It's crucial to have strong leadership buy-in and commitment to make sure that BHAs don't just become, empty slogans. They need to be translated into concrete actions and strategies.
They need to be more than just motivational posters on the wall, right? They need to be part of the DNA of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And finally, the book discusses a framework that we touched on earlier, OKRs, or objectives and key results.
Yes. OKRs, they're becoming more and more popular, in a lot of different industries because of their focus on agility and outcomes.
Can you remind me how OKRs work again?
Sure. Right. With OKRs, you set these ambitious objectives, and then you define measurable key results to track progress toward those objectives. So the objectives are the what. What do you want to achieve, and the key results are the how. How will you measure success?
So it's about having a clear target, right? And then breaking it down into specific measurable steps. What are some of the advantages of using OKRs?
OKRs they're known for being transparent and adaptable, which makes them really well suited for fast-paced, dynamic environments.
I can definitely see the appeal of that, especially in today's world where things change so rapidly. But I'm guessing there are some potential downsides to using OKRs as well, right?
Yes. Just like with any framework, there are things to watch out for. One potential downside is that OKRs, they can sometimes lead to an overemphasis on on short-term goals, at the expense of long-term strategy.
It's that classic tension, right, between hitting those quarterly targets and building something sustainable for the future. How can companies using OKRs avoid falling into that trap?
It's important to make sure that OKRs they're aligned with the company's overall strategic goals, and that they're not just focused on hitting those short-term metrics. It's about finding that balance between short-term wins and long-term vision.
That makes sense. And another potential pitfall that the book mentions is that OKRs can be difficult to implement well.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that companies might face when implementing OKRs?
One of the biggest challenges is getting buy-in and commitment from everyone involved, right? From senior leadership to individual employees. OKRs, they require a high level of discipline and alignment to be truly effective.
It's not something you can just impose.
It's not something you can just impose from the top down. It requires a culture of ownership and accountability.
Exactly. And it's important to provide training, ongoing training and support to make sure that everyone understands how OKRs work and how to use them effectively.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, so it's not a magic bullet, but it can be a really powerful tool when used correctly.
Precisely. And the book, it makes it clear that there's no one right framework for every organization. It's about choosing the one that best aligns with your specific needs and context.
So do your research, experiment, and find what works best for you. I'm curious, what are some specific examples of how companies are using these goal setting frameworks to achieve their objectives?
One example that comes to mind is Intel. They used OKRs to drive a major transformation in their business. They shifted from a focus on memory chips to microprocessors.
Wow, that's a massive shift.
Yeah.
How did OKRs help them achieve that?
OKRs help them to focus their efforts, to align their teams and to track progress towards their ambitious goals. They set these audacious objectives like becoming the dominant player in the microprocessor market, and then they broke those objectives down into measurable key results that could be tracked and monitored.
So OKRs provided a clear roadmap for their transformation journey, helping them to stay focused and aligned despite the massive scale of the change.
Exactly. It's a great example of how OKRs can be used to drive significant strategic shifts within an organization.
Okay, so we've covered the fundamentals of goal setting. And explored a few popular frameworks.
Sure.
But once you've established your goals, the next step in designing a high impact performance management system is figuring out how you're gonna measure progress towards those goals.
Exactly. That's where data driven insights and the use of key performance indicators or KPIs come in.
Yes, measurement. That's where things can get a bit tricky.
Yeah.
What does the book have to say about this?
It emphasizes the importance of using data to make informed decisions, not just relying on intuition or gut feelings. We need to identify the right KPIs, track them diligently, and then use that data to improve performance.
So it's not just about collecting data for the sake of it. It's about using it to actually improve performance. How do companies choose the right KPIs and how do they make sure that they're actually measuring what matters?
The key is to align KPIs with your overall strategic goals. If your company's goal is to increase customer satisfaction, you wouldn't just track sales numbers. You'd also track things like customer feedback or retention rates.
Right. Because those metrics they give you a more holistic view, right, of how well you're actually serving your customers.
Precisely. And the book provides some helpful tips for choosing the right KPIs and using them effectively. One tip is to make sure that your KPIs are actually relevant to the goals they're supposed to be measuring.
So don't just track random metrics because they're easy to measure. Make sure that they're actually telling you something meaningful about your progress towards your strategic goals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another important principle is that your KPIs need to be reliable. They should be based on accurate data and consistent methods of measurement.
Garbage in, garbage out. Right. If your data is bad, your insights are going to be bad too. What are some examples of companies that are using KPIs effectively to drive performance?
One company that comes to mind is Amazon. They're known for their like obsessive focus on data
Yeah.
and their use of KPIs to track everything from customer satisfaction to delivery times.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Amazon's success is largely built on their ability to deliver a consistently excellent customer experience.
Right. So they clearly understand the importance of choosing the right KPIs
Yeah.
and using them effectively. What are some of the specific KPIs that Amazon tracks?
They track a wide range of KPIs, but some of the most important ones include customer satisfaction scores,
Yeah.
order defect rates, on-time delivery rates. They also track things like website traffic, conversion rates, and customer lifetime value.
So they're looking at the entire customer journey, right? From
Yeah.
from the moment someone visits their website
Yeah.
to their long-term engagement with the brand. That's impressive. But once you've identified your KPIs, what's the best way to track them and manage them?
The book recommends using performance dashboards. These are visual representations of your key performance indicators that provide a real-time snapshot of how you're doing. So it's like having a control panel for your organization.
Yeah.
Where you can see all the vital signs at a glance.
Exactly. And performance dashboards, they can be customized to show the specific data that's most relevant to each team or individual. You can tailor the information to each person's, role and responsibilities.
So a sales team might be tracking sales metrics, while a marketing team might be tracking website traffic and lead generation. It's about giving everyone the information they need to understand their own performance and how it contributes to the bigger picture.
Exactly. And the book highlights how performance dashboards can be a powerful tool for driving accountability and transparency. If everyone can see how they're contributing to the overall goals, it's more likely that they'll be motivated to perform at their best.
That makes sense. It's like having a scoreboard that everyone can see, right?
Yeah.
It creates a sense of healthy competition and encourages people to strive for excellence. What are some examples of companies that are using performance dashboards effectively?
A great example is Netflix. They use performance dashboards to track everything from subscriber growth to content engagement, and they make this data accessible to everyone in the company. So it creates a culture of transparency and data-driven decision making.
That's fascinating. It's like giving everyone in the company access to the same playbook.
Right.
It creates a sense of shared ownership.
Yeah.
And accountability.
Exactly. And technology, it plays a crucial role in making all of this possible. We'll dive into the specifics of how technology is transforming performance management, later on.
Okay, sounds good. So we've talked about goals, KPIs, and performance dashboards. What else do we need to consider when we're designing a high impact performance management system?
Well, a key aspect is crafting effective performance plans.
Performance plans. What exactly are those, and how do they fit into the overall PM picture?
A performance plan is essentially, it's like a roadmap for an employee's development within the organization. It outlines, their goals, their action steps, their milestones, and it serves as a guide for their ongoing growth or progress.
So it's like a personalized development plan that's tailored to each individual's strengths, weaknesses, and aspirations. How are these plans typically created, and what are some of the key elements that they include?
Performance plans are usually developed collaboratively between the manager and the employee, and they should be aligned with both the individual's career aspirations and the organization's strategic objectives.
Okay, so it's about finding that sweet spot where individual growth aligns with company success.
Right.
What are some specific examples of development goals that might be included in a performance plan?
Development goals, they could include things like acquiring new skills, taking on more responsibility, or even working on a special project that stretches their capabilities. It's about helping employees grow and develop in ways that benefit both them and the organization.
That makes sense. And how do you ensure that these development goals are actually achieved?
Well, the performance plan should also outline an action plan. This outlines the specific steps, the activities and timelines required to achieve each development goal.
So it's about breaking down those big aspirational goals into smaller, more manageable chunks, and then providing a clear path for how to get there.
Precisely. And it's important to identify the resources that employees will need to succeed, like training programs, mentors, or even just dedicated time to focus on their development.
So it's not enough to just set goals and hope for the best, right? You need to provide employees with the support and the resources they need to actually achieve those goals.
Exactly. And the book, it highlights the importance of regular feedback mechanisms as a way to monitor progress, to provide guidance and to celebrate successes.
Feedback. We talked about the importance of feedback earlier.
Yeah.
But how does it specifically fit into the context of performance plans?
Regular feedback sessions, whether they're formal performance reviews or more informal check-ins, they provide an opportunity to track progress towards those development goals, to offer constructive advice, and to make adjustments to the plan as needed.
So it's about keeping the lines of communication open and making sure that everyone's on the same page. What are some best practices for giving feedback that's actually helpful and constructive?
The book emphasizes the importance of being specific. Focus on behaviors rather than personalities, and offering solutions rather than just pointing out problems.
Right. Because it's not helpful to just tell someone that they're doing a bad job. You need to give them specific examples and actionable advice on how they can improve. What are some of the challenges that companies face when they're trying to create a culture of feedback?
One of the biggest challenges is getting managers comfortable with giving feedback. A lot of managers, they avoid giving feedback because they're afraid of conflict or hurting someone's feelings.
That's understandable. But it's also a disservice to employees who need feedback to grow and develop.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that feedback isn't just about correcting mistakes, right? It's also about recognizing and reinforcing positive behaviors.
Right. It's about celebrating successes and acknowledging progress, not just focusing on areas for improvement. How can companies create a more balanced approach to feedback?
One way is to encourage a culture of peer-to-peer feedback where colleagues provide feedback to each other on an ongoing basis.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It takes some of the pressure off of managers.
Right.
It creates a more collaborative and supportive environment.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that performance plans, they should be dynamic documents, open to adjustments based on changing organizational priorities, employee feedback, or just evolving circumstances.
So it's not about creating a rigid plan that's set in stone. It's about having a flexible framework that can adapt to changing needs.
Precisely. And this ties back to those agile principles that we discussed earlier, right?
Yeah.
The modern workplace, it's all about adaptability and responsiveness to change. And performance plans, they should reflect that.
Makes perfect sense. So we've talked about development goals, action plans, and feedback. What else do we need to know about crafting effective performance plans?
The book emphasizes the importance of integrating learning opportunities into the plan. It's about ensuring that employees have access to the resources and support they need to continually develop their skills and knowledge.
That's so important in today's world. Everyone needs to be constantly learning and adapting to stay ahead of the curve. But how do we make sure that learning is effectively integrated into the performance management process?
The book suggests a multifaceted approach that includes formal learning programs, on-the-job learning experiences, mentorship and coaching, and access to a variety of learning resources.
Okay, let's break those down. Formal learning programs seem pretty straightforward. What are some examples of those?
Formal learning programs could include things like workshops, seminars, online courses, or even industry conferences. These programs provide structured opportunities to acquire new knowledge and skills.
So it's about providing employees with the chance to learn from experts and develop their expertise in specific areas.
Exactly. And the Association for Talent Development, ATD, they report that organizations that have comprehensive learning programs, get this, they have 218% higher income per employee and a 24% higher profit margin compared to those that spend less on learning.
Wow, those are some impressive numbers. It really highlights the business case, right, for investing in employee development.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the financial benefits, right?
Right.
Investing in learning also shows your employees that you value their growth and development, which can lead to, increased engagement, increased motivation and loyalty.
That makes sense. People want to work for companies that invest in their future.
Right.
What about on-the-job learning? How can we create opportunities for employees to learn and grow through their day-to-day work?
On-the-job learning, it can be incredibly effective, especially for developing practical skills and applying knowledge in real world scenarios. Some common examples include job rotations, stretch assignments, and challenging projects.
So it's about giving employees the chance to step outside of their comfort zones, take on new responsibilities, and learn by doing. What are some companies that are doing this well?
One company that's known for their innovative approach to on-the-job learning is Procter and Gamble. They have a program called Connect Plus Develop, where they encourage employees to share ideas and collaborate on projects across different departments and functions.
That sounds like a great way to break down silos and foster a culture of innovation. How does this program work in practice?
Employees, they can submit ideas for new products or services, and then they have the opportunity to work with colleagues from different departments to develop and test those ideas. It's a great way to learn new skills, to gain different perspectives, and to build relationships, across the organization.
That's fantastic. It's like a built-in incubator for new ideas, and it gives people the chance to work on something really exciting and maybe even a little bit risky.
Right, exactly. And that's where the real learning happens, right? When you're pushing the boundaries and trying new things.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about formal learning programs and on-the-job learning. What about mentorship and coaching? How do those elements fit into the learning and development picture?
Mentorship and coaching can be incredibly valuable. It offers that one-on-one guidance and support. Mentors, they can share their experiences and insights, helping employees navigate their career paths, while coaches, they can help with specific skill development and overcoming challenges.
So it's about tapping into the wisdom and the expertise that exists within your organization, right?
Yeah.
Both from senior leaders and from peers who have specific skills or experiences to share.
Exactly. A study by Gartner, they found that employees who receive regular coaching and mentorship, they're 70% more likely to be high performers.
That's a strong endorsement for the power of mentorship and coaching. I'm curious, are there any companies that stand out in terms of how they incorporate these elements into their performance management systems?
One that comes to mind is Deloitte. They have a really robust mentorship program that connects employees with mentors across different levels and functions, and they've seen great results in terms of employee engagement, retention, and development.
That's inspiring to hear.
Huh.
Okay, and finally, the book talks about providing access to a variety of learning resources. Why is that so important?
I mean, we live in a world where there's information everywhere, right? It's crucial to empower employees to take charge of their own learning,
Yeah.
provide them with access to online courses, ebooks, industry publications, internal knowledge sharing platforms, like you name it.
So it's about creating that always be learning environment.
Right.
I've heard that some companies even give their employees like dedicated time each week
Yeah.
to focus on learning and development.
Yeah, that's a great example of a company that's truly committed to fostering a culture of continuous learning, and it's not just about keeping up with the latest trends, right? It's about giving employees the tools and the resources they need to grow and develop in ways that align with their own career aspirations.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered the fundamentals of modern performance management, from goal setting to learning and development. But what about the elephant in the room? Performance evaluations. How do we move from planning and development to actually assessing performance in a way that's fair, that's effective, and dare I say, even a little bit enjoyable?
That's where performance appraisals come in. And the book you shared, it offers some really interesting insights into how to conduct appraisals that are truly focused on growth and development rather than just being a judgmental exercise.
I think we all have some baggage when it comes to performance appraisals. That traditional, the traditional model of annual reviews often feels more like a punishment than a helpful process.
Yeah.
What are some of the key flaws with that old school approach?
The biggest flaw is that annual reviews, they're often infrequent and backward looking.
Yeah.
They don't provide the timely feedback that employees need to continuously improve, and they don't accurately reflect the dynamic nature of work.
Right. It's like trying to steer a company by only looking in the rearview mirror.
Right.
You're bound to crash.
Exactly. The book, it argues that organizations they need to ditch that outdated annual review model.
Yeah.
And embrace a more personalized developmental approach to performance appraisals.
Okay. I'm all ears. What does a more modern approach to performance appraisals, what does it look like?
One key shift is moving from annual to continuous performance management. Think regular check-ins, real time feedback, ongoing coaching and development.
So it's about having more frequent ongoing conversations about performance, about progress, rather than just one big stressful, evaluation at the end of the year. What are some of the benefits of this approach?
Deloitte, they found that organizations using continuous feedback practices, they saw a 38% increase in employee engagement.
38%. Wow, that's a huge jump. Clearly those frequent conversations make a big difference in how connected and engaged employees feel.
It's absolutely. And another key shift is moving away from a purely evaluative focus to a more developmental one.
So instead of just judging past performance, it's about helping employees set goals for the future, and providing them with the support they need to achieve those goals. I'm curious, what are some of the potential challenges of making this shift from evaluation to development?
One challenge is that it requires a mindset shift, both for managers and for employees. Managers, they need to be they need to be trained on how to give effective feedback and coaching.
Yeah.
And employees need to be open to receiving feedback and using it for growth.
It's about shifting from a gotcha mentality to a growth mentality, both for the person giving feedback and the person receiving it.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that development, it's not just about promotions or raises. It's about helping employees grow their skills and knowledge, even if it's in their current role.
So it's about investing in people's growth, even if they're not necessarily climbing the corporate ladder.
Exactly. And that can lead to a more engaged and fulfilled workforce, which ultimately benefits the entire organization.
That's a great point. So we've talked about shifting from annual to continuous feedback and from evaluation to development. What are some other key considerations for designing effective performance appraisals?
The book emphasizes the importance of having frequent performance conversations, whether they're quarterly reviews or monthly check-ins or even just weekly one-on-ones.
It's about creating that ongoing dialogue about performance rather than it being a one-time, high stakes event. What are some tips for making those conversations more productive and meaningful?
One tip is to have a structured format for the conversation. This could involve using a framework like the GROW model, which stands for goal, reality, options, and will.
GROW. I like that acronym. Sounds like a good way to make sure that the conversation is focused and action oriented.
Exactly. It helps to clarify goals, to assess the current reality, to explore options for improvement, and then to establish a plan for action.
So it's about moving from assessment to action, which is ultimately what we want to achieve with the performance management, right?
Yeah.
What are some other tips for making these conversations more productive?
Another key tip is to encourage a two-way dialogue. Not just a monologue from the manager. Employees, they should feel comfortable sharing their perspective, asking questions, even challenging their managers' assessments.
Right. It's about creating a space for open and honest communication where both parties feel heard and respected. What are some of the potential pitfalls of not having that open communication?
If employees feel like they don't have a voice in the appraisal process, they're more likely to become disengaged and demotivated. A Gartner study, they found that 86% of high-performing employees, they believe that having a voice in appraisal discussions is crucial for their engagement and motivation.
That makes sense. People want to feel like their opinions matter,
Yeah.
and that they're part of the process. Okay, so we've talked about having frequent conversations, using a structured format, and encouraging open dialogue. What else do we need to keep in mind when we're conducting performance appraisals?
The book emphasizes that every appraisal meeting, it should conclude with clear, actionable outcomes.
So don't just have a nice chat and then go back to business as usual.
Right.
Make sure that you're walking away with specific next steps.
Hmm?
What are some examples of actionable outcomes?
Outcomes, they could include setting specific goals for the next review period, creating a development plan, identifying training opportunities, or even just agreeing on a timeline for follow-up. It's about turning the conversation into tangible results that can drive performance improvement.
So it's about making sure that the performance appraisal is not just a box ticking exercise, but a meaningful process that leads to real change and development.
Mhm.
What are some of the potential benefits of having these clear action steps?
Orson by Deloitte, they report that 82% of organizations that set clear outcomes in appraisal meetings, they report higher employee performance. So it's not just about feeling good. It's about actually achieving better results.
That's compelling evidence that taking the time to plan and follow through on action steps can make a real difference in employee performance. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground when it comes to performance appraisals. We've talked about shifting from annual to continuous feedback, from evaluation to development, having frequent conversations, using a structured format, encouraging open dialogue, and concluding. So we've covered a lot of ground when it comes to performance appraisals. We've talked about shifting from annual to continuous feedback, from evaluation to development, having frequent conversations, using a structured format, encouraging open dialogue, and concluding with clear actionable outcomes. But what happens when those conversations they reveal that there are actual performance challenges? How do we address those in a way that's both effective and supportive?
That's a crucial aspect of performance management. And the book, it offers a really insightful perspective on this. The key is to shift from a reactive punitive approach to a proactive supportive one that focuses on early intervention and addressing the root causes of performance issues.
So it's about catching problems early on, and working with employees to figure out what's going wrong, and how to fix it, rather than just waiting until things get really bad, and then coming down hard on people. What are some of the signs that managers should be looking for that might indicate a performance issue?
It could be anything from a decline in work quality,
Yeah.
or productivity, to changes in behavior,
Mhm.
or attitude. The key is to pay attention,
Yeah.
and to address issues early on, before they escalate into bigger problems.
Yeah. Right. Because often those early signs, they're just the tip of the iceberg, right? There might be underlying issues that need to be addressed. What are some of the common mistakes that managers make when dealing with performance issues?
One common mistake is avoiding the issue altogether. Managers might hope that the problem will just go away on its own, but that
Hmm.
rarely happens.
That's understandable. It can be uncomfortable to confront an employee about their performance, but avoiding the issue only makes it worse in the long run.
Exactly,
So, yeah.
exactly. Another common mistake is focusing on the symptoms rather than the root cause of the problem.
So instead of just addressing the surface level issue, we need to dig deeper and try to understand the underlying causes. How do we go about doing that? Yeah.
The book, it emphasizes the importance of conducting a thorough root cause analysis when performance issues arise.
Okay, root cause analysis. What exactly does that entail?
It's a systematic process for identifying the underlying causes of problems. It's about asking why multiple times until you get to the heart of the issue.
So it's not just about treating the symptoms. It's about finding the source of the problem and addressing it at its core.
Yeah.
Can you give me a real world example of how root cause analysis might work in practice?
Sure. Imagine a sales team that's consistently missing their targets. Instead of just assuming that they're not working hard enough, a manager might use the 5 whys technique to dig deeper.
Okay, the 5 whys. Tell me more about that technique.
So the manager, they might start by asking, why are we missing our sales targets? And the answer might be because we're not closing enough deals. And then the manager would ask, why aren't we closing enough deals? And the answer might be because our leads aren't qualified. And so on. Asking why up to 5 times to get to the root of the problem.
I see. So in this example, the root cause might not be the sales team's performance at all, but a problem with the lead generation process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. By asking why repeatedly, you can peel back the layers and identify the underlying systemic issue that needs to be addressed. The Harvard Business Review, they report that companies that conduct thorough root cause analysis are 42% more successful in implementing effective solutions.
That makes sense. If you're trying to solve a problem without understanding its underlying causes, you're likely to just be, putting Band-Aids on a gaping wound.
Right.
Once you've identified the root cause, what's the next step?
Then you can start to develop a targeted plan for addressing the issue. If the root cause is a lack of training, you might provide the employee with additional training opportunities. If it's a motivational issue, you might work with them to set more challenging, more engaging goals. And if it's a systemic issue, you might need to make changes to processes or organizational structure.
It's about being strategic and targeted in your approach,
Right.
rather than just throwing solutions at the problem without really understanding what's going on.
Precisely. And the book emphasizes that performance improvement plans or PIPs can be a valuable tool for addressing performance challenges in a structured and supportive way.
PIPs. I have to admit, I always cringe a little when I hear that acronym.
Yeah.
People often associate PIPs with punishment or being put on
Well,
probation.
I understand that. I understand that perception. But the book it argues that PIPs, when done well, can actually be very supportive and helpful.
Okay. I'm willing to hear you out.
Yeah.
What does the book have to say about creating effective PIPs?
It stresses that PIPs, they should be framed as opportunities for growth and development, not punishment. They should be a collaborative process between the manager and the employee, with the goal of helping the employee improve their performance and achieve their full potential.
So it's about shifting the focus from blame, from punishment to support and development. What are some of the key elements that should be included in a PIP?
The PIP should clearly outline the specific performance issues that need to be addressed, as well as the expected standards of performance. It should also include a detailed action plan outlining the steps the employee needs to take to improve their performance, as well as the resources and the support that will be provided.
So it's not just a vague warning, right? It's a concrete plan for getting back on track with clear expectations and support mechanisms in place.
Exactly. And the book it recommends setting a specific time frame for the PIP with regular check-ins to review progress, provide feedback and make adjustments to the plan as needed.
It's about creating a structured process with clear milestones and accountability, while also providing ongoing support and guidance.
Precisely. And it's important to document the entire PIP process thoroughly, both for legal compliance and to provide a clear record of the interactions and agreements.
Okay, so documentation is key throughout the entire process. But what about the human element? How do we make sure that the PIPs are delivered in a way that's supportive and respectful, rather than feeling like a punitive measure?
That's crucial. The book it emphasizes the importance of clear and compassionate communication throughout the process. The manager should have an open and honest conversation with the employee, explaining the reasons for the PIP, expressing confidence in the employee's ability to improve, and offering support every step of the way.
So it's not about just handing someone a document and saying here's what you need to do to improve. It's about having a real conversation, acknowledging the challenges and working together to find solutions.
Exactly. And a study by the Corporate Executive Board, they found that 70% of employees who perceive PIPs as supportive, they're more likely to improve their performance.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
People are more likely to respond positively to feedback and support than to criticism and punishment.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of addressing performance challenges effectively.
Yeah.
And how PIPs can be a valuable tool when used appropriately. But let's shift gears now and talk about the more positive side of performance management, recognizing and rewarding excellence.
That's the fun part, and it's just as important as addressing performance challenges.
Everyone loves recognition, right, and rewards.
Yeah.
But I think it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking about rewards as just transactional. Like
Yeah.
you do this, you get that. How can we shift our thinking about rewards and recognition to create a more holistic and meaningful experience for employees?
The book, it argues that rewards and recognition, they should be more than than just, transactional. They should be an integral part of your company culture. It's about creating a culture of appreciation where employees, they feel valued and recognized for their contributions on an ongoing basis.
So it's not just about handing out bonuses or plaques at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
It's about weaving appreciation into the fabric of the organization.
Exactly. Exactly. And the book highlights the importance of taking a holistic approach to rewards, often referred to as total rewards.
Okay, total rewards. What exactly does that encompass?
Total rewards includes everything that contributes to an employee's overall experience and value proposition within the organization, including compensation, benefits, recognition, career development opportunities, work-life balance initiatives, and even the company culture itself.
Wow. So that's a lot to consider.
Yeah.
But it makes sense that a truly comprehensive approach to rewards would go beyond just the financial aspects.
Yeah.
What are some specific examples of non-monetary rewards that companies can use to create a culture of appreciation?
One of the most powerful non-monetary rewards is simply public acknowledgement.
Hmm.
Recognizing an employee's accomplishments in a team meeting or a company newsletter or even on social media, that can have a huge impact on their morale and motivation.
It's about making people feel seen
Yeah.
and appreciated for their hard work, right? And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Sometimes a simple thank you note or just a verbal expression of appreciation can make someone's day.
Absolutely. And a Global Force study, they found that 82% of employees, they feel more valued and appreciated when their achievements are acknowledged publicly.
That makes perfect sense. Everyone wants to feel like their work matters and that it's being noticed. What are some other examples of non-monetary rewards?
Another powerful reward is offering career development opportunities, like providing training programs, mentorship, or opportunities to work on challenging projects. It's about investing in your employees' growth and showing them that you're committed to their long-term success.
So it's not just about rewarding past performance. It's about investing in their future potential.
Exactly. And the American Society for Training and Development, ASTD, they found that companies that provide comprehensive training programs, they see a 24% higher profit margin than those that spend less on training.
Wow, that's a significant return on investment. Clearly investing in employee development pays off.
Absolutely. And another non-monetary reward that's becoming increasingly popular is offering flexible work arrangements.
Yes, flexibility. That's something that a lot of people are looking for in today's world. What are some examples of flexible work arrangements that companies are offering?
Companies are offering things like remote work options, flex time, compressed work weeks, and even unlimited vacation time. These arrangements can significantly improve work-life balance and job satisfaction, leading to a happier and more productive workforce.
That makes perfect sense. People want to feel like they have some control over their work schedule,
Right.
and that they can balance their work life with their personal life.
Exactly. A Flex Jobs report found that 80% of employees would be more loyal to their employers if they had flexible work options.
That's a powerful statistic. It shows that offering flexibility can be a key driver of loyalty and retention. What are some other examples of non-monetary rewards?
Creating peer-to-peer recognition programs can also be very effective.
So it's not just about managers recognizing their employees. It's about creating a culture where everyone can recognize and appreciate each other's contributions.
Precisely. Peer-to-peer recognition can be a great way to boost morale, to build stronger teams, and to create a more positive and supportive work environment.
I love that. What are some examples of peer-to-peer recognition programs that companies are using?
Some companies use online platforms where employees can give each other, virtual high fives or kudos for a job well done. Others have more formal programs where employees can nominate each other for awards or recognition. The key is to make it easy for employees to recognize and appreciate each other's contributions.
It's about creating a culture of gratitude and appreciation where people feel comfortable expressing their appreciation for each other.
Exactly. Research by the Harvard Business Review, it shows that peer recognition can enhance team performance by 14%.
That's impressive. It shows that recognition is not just a feel-good thing. It can actually have a tangible impact on performance. But with all these different types of rewards and recognition, how do we make sure that they're actually meaningful and motivating for employees?
That's where personalization comes in. The book, it emphasizes that rewards and recognition, they should be tailored to each individual's preferences and motivations to be truly effective.
Personalized, so not just a generic Employee of the Month award.
Exactly. It's about taking the time to understand what motivates each individual employee and tailoring rewards and recognition accordingly.
So some people might be motivated by public acknowledgement, while others might prefer a more private expression of appreciation.
Yeah.
Some might be motivated by opportunities for career advancement, while others might value experiences or additional time off. It's about understanding what makes each person tick.
Precisely. A Deloitte study found that organizations that tailor rewards to individual preferences, they see a 24% increase in employee performance and retention.
Wow, that's a significant boost. Clearly, personalization can make a big difference in terms of engagement and motivation. So how do we go about personalizing rewards and recognition? Where do we even start?
The book, it recommends starting by simply getting to know your employees better. Ask them what motivates them, what they value, and how they like to be recognized. You can gather this information through regular conversations, surveys, or even informal polls.
So it's about having open communication and really listening to your employees. It seems so simple, but it's amazing how often companies overlook this basic step. Mm-hmm. Once you have a better understanding of their individual preferences, how do you go about personalizing rewards and recognition programs?
You can get creative. Instead of just giving everyone the same generic gift card or bonus, you might give someone a personalized gift that aligns with their interests, or offer them an experience that they would value, like tickets to a concert or a weekend getaway.
So it's about thinking outside the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
And finding ways to make rewards and recognition more personal, more meaningful. I love that. What about career development opportunities? How can those be personalized?
When it comes to career development, you can personalize the experience by providing, resources or training programs that are specifically relevant to their goals and interests. You can offer career coaching or mentorship or give employees the chance to work on projects that align with their passions.
So it's about creating a development plan that's tailored to each employee's individual career aspirations.
Exactly. Research by Burson, by Deloitte, it indicates that personalized development plans lead to a 39% increase in employee engagement and productivity.
That's a significant boost. Clearly taking the time to understand individual needs and aspirations, it pays off.
Absolutely. And finally, the book, it recommends involving employees in the design of your reward and recognition programs.
So don't just, dictate what you think they want, right? Ask them what they would find meaningful and valuable.
Exactly. This could be done through focus groups or suggestion boxes or even employee committees. A McKinsey report highlights that organizations that actively involve employees in designing recognition programs see a 32% increase in program effectiveness.
That makes sense. If people feel like they're part of the process, they're more likely to be invested in the outcomes.
Absolutely. And ultimately, creating a culture of appreciation isn't just about implementing a bunch of programs and initiatives. It's about making recognition and rewards a natural part of how you do business every day.
It's about making appreciation part of your company's DNA. Well, yeah, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about the evolution of performance management, the importance of aligning culture and performance management, the fundamentals of goal setting, the power of data-driven insights, the key elements of effective performance plans, strategies for addressing performance challenges, and the importance of rewards and recognition.
We have covered a lot, and we've only just scratched the surface of this fascinating topic.
That's true. There's so much more we could explore. But before we wrap up, I think there's one more crucial aspect that we need to discuss, the role of technology in shaping the future of performance management.
Yes, technology, it's transforming every aspect of work, and performance management is no exception.
So let's dive into the digital frontier. What are some of the key trends and technologies that are shaping the future of performance management?
Well, we've already touched on a few of them, but one trend that's really gaining momentum is the rise of agile performance management.
Agile. We talked about agile in the context of goal setting and performance plans, but how does it apply to the overall performance management system?
Agile performance management is about applying the principles of agile software development to the way we manage performance. It's about embracing flexibility, frequent feedback, continuous improvement, and collaborative goal setting.
So it's about creating a more dynamic and responsive performance management system that can adapt to changing needs and priorities, just like in a fast-paced software development environment.
Exactly, and it's becoming increasingly popular as organizations they face a more complex and volatile business environment.
That makes perfect sense. The old rigid ways of doing things just can't keep up with the pace of change anymore.
Precisely, and technology, it plays a crucial role in enabling agile performance management.
Okay, let's talk about technology. What are some of the specific technologies that are being used to transform performance management?
One of the most impactful technologies is artificial intelligence or AI.
AI, that's a hot topic these days. But how is it being applied to performance management?
AI is being used in a number of different ways, from automating administrative tasks to providing personalized insights and recommendations.
So it's not about replacing human managers with robots, right? It's about augmenting human capabilities and making performance management more efficient and effective. What are some specific examples of how AI is being used in performance management?
AI is being used to analyze performance data and identify patterns and trends that might not be obvious to humans. This can help managers to identify high potential employees, to predict attrition, and to personalize development plans.
So it's about using data to make better decisions about talent management and development.
Exactly. And AI is also being used to personalize the employee experience, providing tailored recommendations for learning and development opportunities, feedback, and even career paths.
That's fascinating. It's like having a virtual career coach.
Yeah.
That's available 24/7.
Exactly. And AI, it can also help to make performance management more engaging and interactive. For example, some companies are using AI-powered chatbots to provide employees with real-time feedback and support.
So it's about leveraging technology to create a more personalized, more engaging performance management experience. What are some of the challenges that companies face when implementing AI in performance management?
One challenge is ensuring that AI systems are fair and unbiased. If the data that's used to train the AI is biased, the AI's recommendations might also be biased.
Right. So it's not enough to just to just implement AI, right? We need to make sure that we're using it responsibly and ethically.
Absolutely. Another challenge is ensuring that employees are comfortable with the use of AI in performance management. Some employees they might be concerned about privacy or feel like they're being monitored too closely.
That's understandable. Transparency and communication, they're key. They're key when it comes to implementing any new technology,
Yeah.
especially one that has the potential to be so impactful on people's work lives.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that AI it's just a tool.
Right.
It's not a replacement for human judgment and interaction.
So the future of performance management, it's not about replacing humans with robots. It's about finding that right balance between leveraging the power of technology and preserving the human element of work.
Precisely. And speaking of tools, the book also highlights a number of other technologies that are transforming performance management.
Okay, give me some examples. What kind of tools are we talking about?
Yeah. Well, one category that's really taking off is feedback platforms. These platforms they facilitate continuous real-time feedback between managers and employees, as well as peer-to-peer feedback.
So it's about making feedback more frequent, more accessible, and less formal. What are some of the advantages of using these feedback platforms?
They can help to create a more open and transparent feedback culture where feedback is seen as a regular part of work rather than a dreaded annual event.
Right, because the more comfortable we are with giving and receiving feedback, the more we can all learn and grow. What are some of the key features that these feedback platforms offer?
Many of these platforms they incorporate features like anonymous feedback pulse surveys and 360-degree assessments. They make it easier to gather feedback from multiple perspectives and to track feedback over time.
That's really interesting. It's like taking the pulse of the organization and getting a more holistic view of performance.
Exactly. And another category of tools that's becoming increasingly popular is goal setting and tracking
Yeah.
software.
Yes, goals. We talked about the importance of goal setting earlier, but how can technology help us set better goals and track progress more effectively?
These tools, they often incorporate frameworks like OKRs, providing a structured way to set goals, to align them with organizational objectives, and to monitor progress in real time.
So it's like having a digital coach that helps you stay on track and make adjustments as needed.
Exactly. And many of these tools also incorporate features like progress visualizations, automated reminders, and collaboration tools. They make it easier to stay organized, to stay motivated and accountable.
That's really helpful. And what about performance dashboards? We talked about those briefly earlier, but I'm curious to learn more about how they're evolving.
Performance dashboards are becoming more sophisticated, more interactive, leveraging data visualization techniques to present complex performance data in a clear and engaging way.
So it's about moving beyond spreadsheets and static reports to create more dynamic and insightful performance visualizations.
Precisely. And many performance dashboards now incorporate features like drill down capabilities, real-time updates and customizable views. They empower managers and employees to explore